Hi, I'm Myra Kornfeld. I'm a cookbook author and cooking instructor, and I have lots of tips and recipes to make your cooking life a whole lot easier. Today we're going to look at the wonderful world of winter squashes. There are so many delicious varieties, and I really hope you take advantage of them. We're going to explore a few of those today and then do one quick delicious dish. These are some of my favorite varieties. These two are in the buttercup family. This is a kabocha and this is a red curry squash, and they both have dense orange flesh. Now, the way that, sometimes squash are difficult to cut into, and here's one great trick. You could just take a whole squash, throw it in the oven for 10 to 15 minutes, and then it just softens the outside. And if I want to bake it, I could cut it down the middle and place it face down, or now I could peel it so easily just because the outside has been softened. Look at this gorgeous orange flesh. It's dense, meaty, really great in soups and sautés. But you'll also notice that when I put it over here on my board and I take my knife, I'm going to be able to cut into it so easily. And this is not a really heavy knife, but that little bit of pre-cooking will do the trick. So 15 minutes in the oven, whole, then you do whatever you want with it. This is a delicata squash. You could eat the whole thing skin and all. The way you prep it is cut it down the middle, take out the seeds, cut it up, roast it, saute it, do whatever. But the skin is good for eating. Same on this kabocha and this red curry. You could even eat the skin. Now this one is a sweet dumpling squash. The way I like to deal with it is 10 minutes in the oven, cut off the top, scoop it out, then stuff it and bake it. Your perfect individual stuffing squashes. Now this one is the good old spaghetti squash. Mine is soft now because I just put it in the oven whole and I baked it for about an hour. I took this out of the oven and cut it open very easily and took out the seeds. So now the spaghetti squash is so much fun because it's got these nice stringy things, and use a fork to pull out the flesh, and then you could treat it like pasta, put it with a tomato sauce or whatever. So this is a really fun squash to keep in your radar. Now, a couple of tips on butternut squash is that treat it like two separate vegetables, because from here to here it's dense, and from here to here this little bulb part has a seed bank. So the way I like to treat the butternut squash, if I'm using it to saute, and I'm going to be cutting it up into little squares in a moment, I just use this wide mouth peeler. These are great for cutting thick slices off, and they make it really fast. So I cut off the squash at the neck. And now, to get this into little squares, first thing I want to do is anchor it. So I'm going to cut one little piece, and now it's flat. Always keep it flat to keep it safe. And now I can cut these little slabs. And I could cut the little slabs into pieces like this. And then I could cut these pieces into a small dice. When I roast a whole butternut squash, I just cut the whole thing down the middle, put it face down on a parchment baking sheet, and then I don't even take out the seeds till after it comes out of the oven. But if you're going to dice it, you need to take out the seeds first. So I'm making sautéed squash with pears. It's not the most typical combination, but they're both in season at the same time, and they taste delicious together, and we're going to add some ginger as well. So I'm first starting with a couple tablespoons extra virgin olive oil, and then I'm adding my cut up butternut squash, and I'm adding one pear that I also sliced up. I used a Camas pear, but an Anjou, Bartlett, all of that would be very good. I'm starting with a pinch of salt. This has been cooking about 6-7 minutes. You can see it's starting to brown. So I'm going to make this little island in here. And by the way, they're just tender. We don't want them to get mushy, so just tender. And I'm adding a little butter right in the middle over there. And then I'm adding some ginger, so it could kind of just fry with it. And if you don't want to use butter, you could also do it with extra virgin olive oil, but the butter and the oil together are so lovely. So I'm melting this and letting that cook together. I'm going to add about a half a teaspoon of salt to the whole dish, as well as a little warming spice. So I'm adding just a pinch of cayenne. And now I'm going to finish it off with a splash of balsamic vinegar. So warming for the cooler weather that's just starting to happen. It's a good time to get creative with all the delicious varieties of winter squash that are out right now. And as you can see, they're really not that difficult to use. So have fun